Hello and welcome to another episode of Sacred Spaces. Today we're visiting the Learning and Teaching building at Clayton Monash campus, where we will talk to three people that will tell us a little bit more about what this building is about, such as the project manager Luke Wade, Amanda Moore, Senior Associate at John Wardle Architects, and Professor Chris Ryan, who is the Pro Vice Chancellor Academic of Monash University. Let's go. So, how does the Learning and Teaching building relate to the wider context?
The Learning and Teaching building is a really significant building for Monash University in terms of their master plan aspirations. The university has had a huge growth in student numbers, and also the way in which learning and teaching was occurring was very different, and so the university needed best practice teaching spaces to support their pedagogical approach. There was also a real need for the master plan to start to develop a much more pedestrianised and student-friendly campus, and to start to kind of develop and bring back the natural landscape through this area.
So why would you say that this site's significant for the building? Why couldn't it be any other site?
The Learning and Teaching building was conceived to be on this particular site to start to create a front door for the campus. Prior to the Learning and Teaching building, the interaction with Wellington Road and the interface to Wellington Road was very much kind of hidden. The campus was set back, the buildings were set back, and what you saw from the street was really kind of cars and car parking. The development of the building itself was really significant in terms of the bus interchange to the west of the building as well. How do you bring students into the campus really easily and freely? And this almost becomes that front door.
Yeah, very interesting. So how would you say does the outside relate to the inside and vice versa? How do they connect?
There were some really strong themes, I guess, that we developed in the early concept stages of the project. This particular site was historically a forest, a landscaped forest prior to a farming history that started to develop beforehand. Monash has a great Indigenous landscape in some parts of the campus, and we really wanted to bring that back to the Learning and Teaching building, and how the outside of that building kind of developed and interacted with what we were doing on the inside. So some of those landscape themes sort of extended into the building in terms of the materials and the finishes and some of the architectural concepts, I guess.
Beautiful. Should we go and have a look?
Sure.
So how is this building significant for its students?
The thing that we want to be able to have at Monash is a safe space for our students to be, and a place that they can really own. We want our students to say, here I can prepare for my studies, and after class they can come back and they can consolidate their learning. And what you see just behind you right here is an example of our students just occupying the space as if it's their own lounge room. The acoustics and the lighting, the natural light that we're getting in, the beautiful surface finishes here really make it something that the students want to be here. And as a result of that, they feel that they want to occupy the space for longer. You can tell that some of the students here are talking to each other, but we can't overhear that at the minute, so they feel comfortable to share their ideas and share their learning. And also into the evening, the space is so open, so our students are very happy to be here all the way up to the evening, and with the transport just next door, it means that they've just got a very short walk, they're straight home.
Beautiful. So what would you say are some of the key elements that make up for an efficient and optimized learning and teaching environment?
The key for me is in the formal classes making a space where the students can actively participate in their learning. we want to have the students informing and being responsible for their own learning. So that means that they're getting up and they're talking to their colleagues. They're getting up, they're leading the class. They're able to write on the furniture, so we've got writable whiteboard tables. They're able to write on the walls and project that and record that and show that as a piece of learning that they have created. And then when they come out here, in preparation for that, we provide these spaces so that they are able to prepare appropriately so that when they're in the class with our world experts, they're getting the most out of it.
So how has the response been from the students? How have they received this building?
So from day one, the students have pretty much owned the place, which is exactly what we were hoping for. The important part is that whilst the Faculty of Education is housed here, so academics are here, this building teaches across all of the faculties on this campus. So that means that there are 8 faculties teaching into this building right now. So we have over 57,000 unique students coming into the building across any one of our semesters. And we monitor that so that we can see how the building's being occupied during the day as well. And one of the things that we've noticed when we're comparing this building to other buildings on campus is the students want to spend more time here into the evening. So they're seeing this as a hub of learning where they feel safe, they feel that they want to be able to work as teams here all the way through the day. It's been wonderful.
Brilliant. So how is this building significant to Multiplex?
So the Monash Learning and Teaching building was very much a targeted project that we really wanted to build. We had previously worked for John Wardle Architects on a previous project, and we'd already constructed approximately 5 other buildings on the Monash Clayton campus. So when the Monash Learning and Teaching building became available to tender on, Multiplex really was interested in bidding for it, and fortunately enough we were successful to win the project, and we actually ended up starting on site very quickly after it was awarded.
And what would you say are the key features?
So there are many key features within the Monash Learning and Teaching building, but just to name a few, we have the spine stair behind us here. We also have the brick tower and the brick kiln, which are key features, very striking when you walk in off Angkor and Paraway. No one really knows that they exist within the building until they walk in. There's actually 300,000 bricks that came from a small town called Stall, which is just outside of Ararat. So they were produced within Victoria, which is a good thing. We also have the Sawtooth Roof, which is completely constructed out of timber. The Sawtooth Roof was actually constructed in Dandenong and then sent to a factory where we assembled it just around the corner in another factory in Dandenong. And we actually brought the Sawtooth Roof to site in the middle of the night. We commenced lifting at 1 a.m. in the morning and finished at 6 a.m. in the morning, and that was due to it being all specialist wide loads that needed to come in. But also within the building we have a number of lecture theatre spaces and teaching spaces. So there is a large format teaching spaces, there's 3 of them. One of the key features of those rooms is the theatre in the round, which is actually a round lecture theatre, which Multiplex really has never seen before. We also have the smaller 30, 60 and 90 teaching spaces.
That's fascinating. So I would like to know, did any challenges and obstacles arise during construction?
Well, I touched on it just previously with the Sawtooth Roof. It actually took 12 months from when we commenced procuring the timber roof. Now, overall, Multiplex built the structure and the whole entire project in 16 months. From the day we started on site to the day we handed the keys to Monash was 16 months. 12 months of those took the roof to be procured and built. That's just due to its complexity. If you can look up at it, actually has many, many angles in it. It's 24 metres long by 4.5 metres high by 6 metres wide. And there's 12 modules in it that make up the roof. That one was probably the most challenging part, and also the brick kiln. If the curves that are within the brick kiln, we actually had to construct it top down. So a bit different. Normally you build things up, but we actually started at the top, and fortunately enough, the bricklayers knew exactly what they needed to do, and we put the 300,000 bricks together. It worked out really well. Also, another key feature in the LTB building is when you walk up Nkoro Way and from the northern elevation looking across from the Menzies building, some of the glass facade actually looks copper, has a copper colour to it. What it is it's actually expanded copper mesh that is within the two glass panes. The glass actually was made in Germany and then shipped to Australia where we installed it. But it's quite a unique building product and to be used that actually throws the light into the area softly.
How is the interior set up to support optimized learning and teaching?
The interior of the learning and teaching is arranged around the atriums. There's a series of neighbourhoods within the building. And I guess that was a really important strategy to start to break up the scale of the building. It's such a large building into smaller, more intimate settings for students to learn in. Each of the neighbourhoods consists of a series of different kinds of informal learning settings that sit outside the formal teaching spaces and the classrooms. The classrooms are typically to the perimeter of the floor plate so that there's access to natural light and views, and there was a really important concept of learning being on show. So being on show to people that are moving around the campus and on the outside of the building, but also within the building, that they could experience learning and teaching. They could experience what was happening within the classroom settings. Each of the neighbourhoods allowed us to look at the informal spaces to provide a real variety of those types of seating spaces for students. There are groups of students that come into the building that want to inhabit the building in a really social way, in a kind of active group way. But then there's also individuals who might want to learn within the building and inhabit the building in a much more private way, in a one-on-one way. So there's a series of different types of informal spaces that provide for all of those different student types, from kind of group tables to booths, just little nooks in the wall where people can tuck away by themselves. So there's a real variety of seating that we've provided to support students.
I mean, if I look around, the LTB is a massive building. How do people even find their way around here?
Intuitive wayfinding and really clear navigational strategies were important in terms of students being able to use this building really freely and find their way around the building really freely. We used, I guess, a series of strategies in terms of our primary circulation elements to assist with that. So we have the spine stair that sits behind us, which is a really strong element from one of the main entrance points, the northern entrance to the building. And the colour on the inside really starts to kind of define and provide some direction for students using that. We also have the escarpment stair, which is also to the north of the building. And this is a really important circulation path that starts to tie in the learning and teaching kind of philosophies of the building in terms of informal learning, group learning within one of these circulation paths. There's 4 fire stairs within the building that have been designed in a way that they're foregrounded and that they can be used by all building users as circulation paths and primary circulation paths. We've tended to background the lifts within the learning and teaching building so that students are kind of encouraged to move freely through the building and experience the building in a pedestrian way. We've also used the atriums as a key navigational tool as well. So from many different points within the building, you've got clear sightlines through the building floor plate and across the floor plate so that you can start to get a sense of where you are in the building and get your sense of orientation, I guess.
So how many people use the LTB at the same time? Just so we can get an idea of how big the building is.
There's over 60 formal teaching spaces within the building and over 1,000 informal learning seats within the building as well. Within the 60 sort of formal teaching spaces, on the ground floor there are 3 large format spaces, and each of those have been designed in quite a unique way to support either collaborative or interactive learning. They have quite a different indoor environment to them, and they're really about empowering students to take control of and be a really key part of that learning experience. Information is delivered outside of class So students get their information delivered to them outside of class, and class time is really about expanding on that information, using it for almost a homework type activity. So students are really supported in terms of how they manage the information that they receive and how they best use it for the learning experience that they are after. There's also a series of small, medium and large flexible teaching spaces within the building, and they've been designed in quite a uniform way so that they can be quite flexible over time as learning and teaching styles change within the building, and the way in which students learn changes. These spaces can adapt to suit that.
So we had a brilliant time today exploring the learning and teaching building, and because this show is called Sacred Spaces, I would like to ask you, Amanda, what is your favourite sacred space here?
I guess where we're standing is one of my favourite spaces within the learning and teaching building. We're standing at the heart of the learning and teaching building, and I guess the way that we've sited the building and also designed this particular space really talks to some of the really key concepts that we were striving to achieve. We sited the building, or we proposed to site the building over Incora and Paro Way, which is the pathway that runs directly through this particular space. That was historically a ring road on campus, so a vehicular access path. And we felt that it was a really strong kind of move to turn that vehicular access path into a student pedestrianised path, and to have that important element embedded within the building as well. We also looked at the design of this particular part of the building in terms of how we can start to tie in some of our landscape themes, but also have a really strong kind of centre to such a large building. So the brick elements that sit behind us, the brick kilns and the brick towers, start to speak to some of the kind of landscape themes of that we've been talking about, and bringing these sort of heavy elements up through the centre of the building. It was also really important to have the learning and teaching aspect of the building on show at the centre of the building. So having an informal space right at the heart of the building that sits under these elements was a really strong way of celebrating learning and teaching within the building.
Well, thank you very much, Amanda. And of course, thank you to you for watching. My name is Ines Hemmings, and you've been watching Sacred Spaces.